Hello, everybody. This is JR. Back to you again this week with episode number 26 of Three Things with JR. And we are going to get into some things today. Woo! Got a good one for you here. I have just finished editing what you're about to hear, which is a nice long call, a Zoom call I had with my dad. And the reason I wanted my dad on the show this week is to sort of clear the air after quite a heated discussion on Facebook this week regarding a post I made about Black Lives Matter and a post he made about riots in Democratic and Republically run cities. And I don't think we solved anything in our discussion other than I wanted to make sure everybody that was part of that Facebook discussion on my post got a chance to hear my dad in person and to realize just how cool of a dude he is. And I'm not sure how well we did that. It's a weird discussion. We got a little distracted. We had multiple Facebook posts, and the waters were muddy, and neither one of us changed either one of our minds at all, which is kind of normal for my dad and me. I will say that if you haven't heard the Father's Day episode of this podcast, a lot of things Dad talks about in this show will make more sense if you've actually heard that. So I would recommend you go back and listen to that episode with where my sister Aubrey and me honors my dad on Father's Day right here on this show. So go check out that episode and then come back to this one and take a listen. And also, if you can go find it on my Facebook feed, it's the post about Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter. It refers to a Bible verse. The reading all 70 or so comments on that might help you through this discussion as well, although it's not critical. You don't have to. In fact, maybe don't do that. So anyway, here's the discussion between my dad and me, Three Things with JR. So live with me, courtesy of Zoom, is my dad in Emmitsburg, Iowa. Dad, how you doing?
Doing great. Couldn't be better.
Couldn't be better.
Couldn't be better. If I was better, I'd be twins.
If you were better, I was talking to Mom the other day, and we were trying to figure out what was that thing Dad says when he says, "If I was any better, I'd be something." We could not remember what it was that you said. Have you always said that? If I'd be better, I'd be twins?
Yeah, I don't know where I heard it, and I'm not exactly sure what it means, but I say it anyway. I don't know why.
It's like
That's
if you
the
were
way-
any better, there would have to be two of you to contain all of the joy.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. But I am a twin, so how did that?
Uh-oh. Huh. That's so weird.
I guess I am better.
If you were better, you'd be twins. So what did you think of the Father's Day podcast?
I liked it. It's my second favorite podcast. I thought the Mother's Day one was better, actually.
Oh, my gosh. You thought we did a better job honoring our mother than we did honoring you?
Yeah, I don't know. I just really like that one. But this one is really good, too. I really liked the way it went. Made me feel good.
Good. You know, we don't have as much contact with you anymore. You used to live with me up until a couple years ago, and you used to live with Mom and Aubrey before that, years before that, and now you are 900 miles away, at least as the crow flies. According to my Find My Dad app on my iPhone, when I want to find you, it says you're in Emmitsburg, which is like 900 miles away. So I don't see you or talk to you as much anymore. And so it was really nice to be able to sort of communicate and put out there, what we think of you and all of that. And it's good it makes me feel good to know that you sat there listening to it and it made you feel good. What did you like specifically about it?
Well, you and Aubrey started out, and you started talking about Dad's place, and Aubrey said something like, "I'm not sure what we called it. We're just referring to it as Dad's place." And I think you got that from the sign at the end of the driveway that James made for you. It was an official street sign that said Dad's place.
Wait, it didn't say Dad's place. Don't you have? You probably have
Oh,
it there
Eldon's
in the.
place.
I was gonna say it said Eldon's place.
Yeah, Eldon's place. Okay, well, that's Dad's place.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it to everybody out there listening that doesn't actually know my dad. His name is Eldon, and he's gone by that and many other versions of Eldon over the years. Right? People have called you what? Elmer. Uh, my uncle David called you Eldy.
Yeah, Elmer was my name through high school. It even got put in the yearbook under the football coaches. Put my name Elmer. He had no idea that wasn't my name.
That was just what everybody called you.
Yeah, it started out. I was over in I was in probably second or third grade, and I was over the playground close to my house, and a neighbor of mine was over there, and he asked me what my name was, and I said, "Well, guess." And his first guess was Elmer. It just stuck for the rest of my school years. My mother hated it.
It wasn't even that he had heard Eldon, but thought of a different version of it that sounded funnier, and he went with that. He just guessed Elmer like out of the blue.
I think he kind of knew, but he wasn't sure. He was guessing at Elmer, which is
Gotcha.
pretty close, I guess.
And why did
But it
your
used to
mom
make my
hate it?
mom. Well, that's not my name. And friends of mine would call up to the house, and she'd answer the phone, and if they said, "Is Elmer there?" She said, "No, nobody here by the name of Elmer," and hung up on them. They would call back and ask for Eldon.
I wonder what my mom would say if people called here and or called her and said, "Hey, is Jr. there?" She'd be like, "Maybe. I don't know. Who's that?" My son's name is Adam. So, she doesn't like Jr. either.
Yeah, she likes the name she gave you. That's the way my mother was.
Yeah, makes sense. It was a lot of fun doing the podcast about you. Any other thoughts on that before we move into some things?
Yeah, one thing I remember is Aubrey was talking about um, a woman that gave me a book, and the name of it was "Get Out of My Life, but Would You Take Me and Cheryl to the Mall First?" And she wasn't sure where the book came about or if I even read it. Well, I did read it because one of my customers, a woman and I were, woman that I was painting for, started talking about our kids, and she said, "I've got a book for you," and that was the name of it. And the book was all about the difference in raising boys and girls. And I read it, and it described the difference between you and Aubrey to a T. It was a really good book.
Well, that makes sense since I am a boy and she is a girl.
Yeah, funny how that worked out.
Yeah. So,
I love
what
it when a
was?
plan comes together.
Yeah, right. Yeah, how'd you guys do that? So, what's the main difference? Like, what do you remember as the main difference between boys and girls?
Well, if I in the book says it, if I told you to go do something, you would just say, "Okay, you might do it and you might not," but there was never an argument. And you tell Aubrey to do something, she'd come up with 10 reasons why she shouldn't have to, or why she should do it a different way or something. But it was just always an argument. And I remember telling her, "I would rather you just say okay and then either do it or don't. Just don't argue with me."
You know, I still do that to this day. When
With
they
that, and
when they give me new jobs at work, if they ask me to do something above and beyond, I definitely say, "Yeah, I'll do that." And most of the time I actually do it, but there might be times I don't, but I certainly didn't argue with them about it.
I wonder if it's that way with all boys and girls. Maybe most of them.
I think it's probably true that all boys are the same and all girls are the same.
Yeah, and when Aubrey went to work with me, she wanted to come to work with me and make as much money as you did. And I said, "Well, that's possible with, in time, if you work out good." And every time I told her to do something, she'd come up with a different way of doing it, a better way of doing it. And I finally told her, I said, "Aubrey, you've got one job, and that's it." She said, "What's that?" And I said, "Whatever I say, you do it without arguing. That's it. That's all you got to do." She couldn't deal with it. She lasted day, I think.
And for those that were worried, I was joking. I realize all boys are not the same, and all girls are not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they
Yeah,
would. Hopefully
I
everybody
hope
caught
it
that.
was obvious, but you never know. This is kind of a one direction conversation going out to the world, so I can't check in with my listeners to make sure they get my stupid jokes.
And you really have to be careful what you say these days.
Yeah, no kidding. I realize I have a day job. I have a family. I have, I might want a different job someday. And all of the stuff of mine that is out there in the public is something that can be scrutinized and considered when someone is considering me for something.
Yeah, I don't have that problem. I'm at the point where well, he's just starting to get senile.
Yeah, when are you gonna?
I can say just about
Yeah,
anything.
you need a podcast.
Think so? Well, what would it be?
It could literally be anything you want it to be. You could have a premise for your podcast where you kind of follow a certain thing or you talk about a particular topic or subject, or it could be literally you can talk about anything you want. I mean, there's no rules for podcasts. That's the beauty of podcasts. It's not like radio. Nobody's, you're not, there's nobody is your boss. There's no content restrictions. You can literally say anything you want and do anything you want. You can call your podcast just about anything you want. And you can have people on. You can talk all by yourself. You can play music. You can do pretty much whatever you want on a podcast. Obviously, you don't want to say things that are going to get you in trouble or stuff like that. Obviously, there's limits on, slander and stuff like that. But I mean, as far as like what you want to talk about, it's kind of sky's the limit.
Sounds too much like a job. And I'm retired. No commitments, so I won't go there.
Yeah, probably not. So you want to get into some three things?
Sure.
Sweet. Well, thing number one, and the main reason I wanted to talk to you on this podcast in sort of a public way has a lot to do with a Facebook post that I posted. I shared. Somebody else created it. I saw it. I forget who shared it, and I saw it on my timeline, but I saw it, and I was like, yeah, that. That was all I said, and I shared out a status, a Facebook post, and it sparked quite a discussion amongst a bunch of people that I know, and it got kind of crazy. So I'll read off the actual post, and we're not going to read every word that everybody posted. We're just mainly going to talk about a couple sort of key things about it here. But the post was this. The original post was from somebody named Jared Price. I don't know who that is. Again, somebody I know shared it on Facebook. But Jared Price said, if you are a Christian and can't hear hashtag Black Lives Matter without feeling the need to respond with a criticism that, quote, all lives matter, then crack open your Bible and hit up Luke 15. Don't have it handy? Let me summarize. There are 100 sheep, but one goes missing. Jesus leaves the 99 and goes after the one. The 99 say, but what about us? Don't we matter? Of course the 99 still matter, but they're not the ones in danger. The one is. I'll say it again. Black Lives Matter. That was the whole post. And I kind of liked that personally because it seemed to me like a biblical way of supporting the concept that we need to consider the plight of people of color, specifically black people in America, that they are still suffering from years, centuries of systemic racism that is not gone. And this is just me now, me expounding on why I shared this. It seems like this kind of explains that. And I knew when I posted it that you, Dad, kind of have that all lives matter sort of response sometimes to Black Lives Matter. And I was thinking, I hope Dad sees this. I had no idea it was going to blossom out into the conversation it did. I didn't tag you in it or anything like that. I just kind of threw it out there and saw what happened. And so before we get into all of the stuff people were saying and what transpired, what did you think when you saw when I posted it?
Well, to be very honest with you, I thought we were going to be talking about a different post.
Really?
Um, we were going to be talking about the one that I put out. Can you name a city experiencing riots that isn't run by a Democrat?
Ah,
I thought that's the one we was talking about.
well, that
And
one,
it's got a
I thought we were talking about this one because this one had so many different people in the mix, in the conversation, and I thought it's what I thought we were going to mainly talk about. The other one, we didn't get quite as far or as deep, and it didn't go as crazy as the posts on this one did.
well,
For example, just to summarize who all posted or commented on this, we have people that I know that are in the comedy world here locally, Liz and Moo, and we have comedians that I've met when I was in Las Vegas. That's excuse me. That's Kevin Bennett. He commented. He was one of the first to comment. You got involved. Greg Allen, who helps me run the Accessible Music Project, he commented on things. Mom said stuff. People from my high school, like Megan Noyes, said things. Cousin John down in Florida got involved. Jared, who's a guy I play disc golf with, got involved. There's a guy from my work, TC Lowe. He got involved. He started having a really big dialogue with John Davis, Cousin John,
yeah.
down in Florida. They did a lot of back and forth. Felicia, she's one of the people that I just finished training at work, so she's another coworker. Sarah, cousin Sarah in New York. Who else? Am I missing anybody? There was so many people. Yeah, that's it. That seems to be about it. So people I know from all different walks of my life got involved in this conversation, and there were at times that they were not all very nice. The comedian from Vegas called one of the comedians here, the Kevin Bennett called Liz Carr a braying mule and said he was going to block her because he didn't like her at all. At some point, she called you a racist, and then sort of condescendingly said that you had once she saw some of your responses, she was like, "Oh, I guess you do get it. I'm praying for you. If you need any help, let me know." That kind of stuff. And I got the impression, I know how that would have made me feel if I were you, but I didn't think, and at even one point you were like, "That's it, I'm out of this conversation." It did continue after that, but I mean, didn't seem all that friendly to you, and I figured we should talk about it.
Yeah, that's all the exact same people, the exact same conversations, and Liz, I remember telling her I could care less what she thinks about me, and I don't need any prayers from her, and I just did not like her for some reason, and I let her know it. So we're talking about the exact same thing, but I have it up here on my iPhone right now, and at the beginning of it, it shows you can go to see, it shows all the comments, and then I hit see,
Yeah.
and it goes to that post. Can you name a city experiencing riots that isn't run by a Democrat? And that's the post that started all this.
How many comments does it say it
Oh,
has total?
I don't see where it shows, but there's so many that you can't see them all at once. You got to click on certain ones that say see more replies and stuff like
Yeah, the post I'm talking about has 67 total comments
that.
on it.
Yeah, that's probably the one. And it's got all those people that you just named.
Well, I mean, I did comment on the post you are referring to, but I did not think that discussion went on anywhere near as in depth as this one did. But
Well, the first post was from you, or the first reply or whatever is from you, and it says, a better question: can you name one rioter that gives a shit about the political party affiliation of the mayor or governor?
yeah, so that was another fun discussion that we all had on Facebook. So if you'd rather talk about that one, or if we could talk about in general,
Yeah, that's just,
both of these
it
topics,
sounds
that's
like
fine.
they're both kind of the same. I don't remember the other one. It sounds like just this one. So yeah,
Well, I think I think they're two very separate discussions, even though they're kind of related. The same sort of topic is the genesis for both, but
Yeah,
I think they're two very different conversations, even if some of the same people did get involved.
yeah. Well, let's talk about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives
Yeah.
Matter. There-
So, Black Lives Matter as a concept is kind of different from the Black Lives Matter organization, because you have been very vocal on Facebook and others in conversations with you about how unimpressed you are with the organization Black Lives Matter. Uh, but
yeah,
maybe, and I think it's true at this point. Correct me if I'm wrong. That you can get on board with saying the Black Lives Matter as a concept, and thinking that and feeling that, and like maybe that is something that needs to be said right now in the world and thought about, and especially because it's still a problem. Would you say that's true? Just as a concept, you can get on board with Black Lives
I
Matter?
am 100% on board with Black Lives Matter and police brutality and all of that. I recognize it as a problem and it's something that needs to be dealt with. My problem is the Black Lives Matter movement, the organization or whatever. And I don't see the Black Lives Matter people separating themselves from what's going on in all these cities right now. The looting and the killing and calling for frying cops like bacon and kill cops, when, now, all that. That's when you say Black Lives Matter, unless they come out and say, that's not what we're about, well, that's what they're about, unless they come out and say different, I think. I can't distinguish between the two of them.
Do you think it's possible that that the water has gotten quite muddy, and that it's possible that things that seem like they should be attributed to the organization Black Lives Matter could be put out there by not them, by other people that aren't really part of them? And I can tell you right now, you've probably done a lot more research into this because you seem more passionate about being critical of the Black Lives Matter organization. I haven't dived deep into that side of it at all, but have you? Like, what kind of like research have you done on that?
Well, I'm just going from what I see, like in Portland, Oregon, rioting and these demonstrations have been going on for over 100 days now. And there's people getting killed. Last night, a Black Lives Matter guy it shot another man, just because he was a Trump supporter. Well, that guy ended up getting shot. And all this stuff that's going on, especially for 100 days in Portland, Oregon, and Trump actually sent the National Guard in there to protect the courthouse. And he protected it. They did, I mean, the National Guard came in, and he cannot go into these cities unless the governors ask him to. But when it comes to a federal building like the courthouse, he can. So he did. And they did not destroy the courthouse. He put a stop to it. But then there was later on a police precinct. They boarded it up and trapped the police inside and set it on fire. And you see Black Lives Matter signs all over, T-shirts, all this. So I'm looking at that, and it's mostly, I'd say most of them are white guys, and a lot of it is Antifa. But you still see the Black Lives Matter signs and T-shirts everywhere. Why don't they come out and ask them to stop that? Because they're giving Black Lives Matter a bad name. And the peaceful protest is done during the daytime. All this other crap going on is done at night, and it goes on all night long. And the mayor will not let the police put a stop to it. When they had that Chad or Chaz, a city that they set up with no police and all that went on for a while. And they burned down a police precinct, and the police were told not to stop them, let them vent. This is stupid. I believe in law and order. I don't care who it is. You try to kill cops, put them in a building and board it up and set it on fire. That's not. And the mayor and the governor are telling you that it's okay. Just let them vent. That makes me mad. And Black Lives Matter has not come out against any of that. So I associate them with it. How, how else can I not? I mean,
I get that. There's certainly plenty of people doing these things and wearing BLM shirts, and there's no telling how much on board with the actual organization these people are, if they're just going rogue and doing whatever they think is right in support of this idea. Where we might differ on this is that I like to go a little bit further back to the root of the problem. And this is where I was going with my comments on the post you're referring to about the Democratic cities and the riots and all that. And I am in no way condoning rioting. I'm not suggesting that that's a good idea. I don't think it's a solution. I think it's a way for more people to get hurt or killed or worse. So it's not good. I'm not in any way condoning that. When you posted about it being Democratic cities versus Republican cities, it strikes me that the political affiliation of the government has nothing to do with this, because the cause of the riots isn't based on that at all. The cause of people being upset enough to riot and also upset enough to peacefully protest is the police brutality and the things that have been going on for so long that have not been addressed or not been fixed. And again, I'm not saying it's okay, but these people are upset enough that they would commit crimes and burn things down and do that. And what is making them so upset? And I think we need to attack that as opposed to building a wall between Democrats and Republicans, saying Republicans have it figured out and Democrats don't. It's not that at all. Individuals, mayors, governors, whether they're Democrat or Republican, probably are stymied right now at how to deal with this. Because if you try to stop them from rioting, you're not going to get all of them. There's going to be more. It's going to be a bigger problem, which I kind of get it why someone would say, let them vent. Because if we try to stop them, it's only going to be worse. Probably more people are going to be killed. Right? Because we're going to have police out there with riot gear. We're going to have this and that, and it's going to be more clashing and more fighting. And if we just let them vent, at some point it fizzles out, and maybe then we can really work on actual productive change, like reforming how police work, how governments work, and all of that. And so that was all I was trying to say, was that it's not, to me, a Democrat-Republican thing. It's let's actually talk about the root of the problem thing for me.
I'll tell you why I think it's Democrat, Republican, and it's all politics right now because of the presidential race. Republican cities are not allowing, they allow the peaceful protest, and they'll even invite people, come and protest, or not protest, but what do you call it, a march or...
Oh, yeah, a protest.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're all for peaceful protest. No problem with that whatsoever. But when you start looting and killing, they put a stop to it. And these people know you cannot go to Republican City and get away with that. And the Democratic cities, I believe, are allowing this to happen. And Kamala Harris came on in the news and said, yes, this writing is going to go on, and it should go on until after the election. They're all for it, and the Democrats are allowing it to go on and then blaming Trump. They're saying, this is Trump America. Do you want Trump America with all this killing? That's why they're allowing it to go on, I think. They're doing anything they can to make Trump look bad, because they have no policies to run on. They have nothing to run on. All they have done since the day he was elected, even before he went into office, is impeach him, and they've just done everything to try and destroy that man, make him look bad. They don't come up with any ideas for the coronavirus or any of this stuff. They just put down every idea, everything he's done and hasn't done. And they'll come up with any solution as their own. That way they can't be accused of being wrong, of doing anything wrong, because they don't do anything. Trump's the only one doing anything, and all they do is put him down for doing it. And that's their only goal between now and election day, is whatever it takes to make him look bad. And it's working. It's working.
Well, I have a couple thoughts on that.
Your turn.
Um, yeah. So I don't think they really need to do all of that since Trump makes himself look bad enough all on his own.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I'll bet you and I could agree that Trump has done some really stupid shit, said some things that he really shouldn't have said, and is probably not the best president we've ever had by any stretch. Agreeable there?
Trump is his own worst enemy. If he would just shut
Yeah.
his mouth, he'd be fine. But I don't look at mostly at what he says. I look at what he has done. He has done a lot for this country.
Well, saying things is part of what he's done. And part of the problem there is the things he has said has ignited the right, meaning the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, and other white supremacists seem to be emboldened in part because of things he says. And that is, I think, a big part of the problem and why we're seeing riots now. Again, not condoning the riots, but I think that's got a lot to do with why it's happening.
I don't agree. It, when I talk to somebody that hates Trump, they will not say one good thing about him. And if you can't say any, you can't look at both sides of him and never say one good thing about him. That's just pure hatred. And he has been dealing with this since before he even got into office. People trying to impeach him. They lied, got these subpoenas, got all this stuff was lies that built up to it. They spent millions of dollars in 3 years and nothing. There's no collusion with the Russians. And it was just so much time wasted. And it was even when the coronavirus started, the first thing he did was stop people from coming in from China as soon as he found out about it. And the Democrats started calling racist and homophobic, I forget the name of it, a bunch of names for doing that, but mainly racist. And Fauci even come out and said he saved hundreds of thousands of lives by not letting China come in. But the Democrats called him racist and letting people in from Europe. And they again did.
That's not why they're calling him racist.
Yes,
They're
it
calling
is.
him racist because the reason they call him racist is because he refers to it as the China virus, and as if
is
it's
the China virus
because of Chinese. It may have originated in the country of China, but the way he has put it out there as the China virus, it's as if the race of Chinese people have something to do with it. It's as if it's a racism thing when he does it that way. It's not the China virus. It's the coronavirus that may have originated in China, but to throw every Chinese person under the bus.
It didn't may have started there. It was started in communist China, and it was hidden from the entire world until it was too late. It got out. And there, I mean, we've named other viruses and stuff after countries and different things. That's nothing new. But the Democrats made it a racist thing. And they were so busy at the time, they weren't doing anything because they were too busy trying to impeach him. And he's trying to stop this virus from coming to this country, and it gets called a racist for doing it. He saved hundreds of thousands of lives by not letting China fly in here after it all came out. And it is the China virus. I don't see why you can't say that. Other viruses have been named after the countries or people or something. That's where most of them got their name.
Yeah. Also misnamed.
But Trump,
like Spanish flu, for example, did not originate in Spain. That's just not true.
Well, I don't know. I don't. But I do know for a fact that this virus started in China, and it got so bad before they let the world know about it, and it could have been ended in China if it wasn't for China. Something like Trump, don't it? China.
You know, what we're doing right now that we're both laughing about that is why I wanted us to chat. It is clear to me we are not going to agree on most of this stuff, and that's okay. We don't have to agree. The main reason I wanted to talk to you is because people that I know were calling you racist on my Facebook post, and I wanted to make sure everybody knew the dad that I know, which is someone who I don't agree with politically on most things. We've had some very heated discussions both in person and on Facebook. Yet we're both here laughing about Trump saying China, and there's few people in the world that I want to do certain things with other than my dad, like go to New York City and ride bikes around, drive in a vehicle and listen to music. We both seem to be on the same page. And, my dad is a wonderful person, and I wanted everybody to sort of hear that and know that. And even though they might be hearing things that he says that they don't agree with, that's okay. My dad's pretty freaking awesome. So do you want to talk any more about that, or shall we move on to thing number 2?
One thing I want to ask you about, as much as both of us love New York City, what did you think of two cops walking down the street, and thugs come up behind them and throw water on them, a bucket of water on them, and another one across the street leaning on a car writing a ticket or something, writing something down, and the guy comes up behind him and throws a bucket of ice water on him and then throws the bucket at it, hit him in the head, and the police are not allowed to do anything. What do you think of that? That's in New York City.
Well,
the police are not allowed to do it.
My first thought would be what I haven't heard this story, so I don't just because you said it doesn't mean I believe that the cops aren't allowed to do anything. What are you basing that on? I haven't heard this, so I don't know. What is that? How do you know that?
That does not surprise me one tiny bit. It's been on the news. They show it happening. And de Blasio, the mayor, does it. I don't why, and this is only happening in Democrat cities. They're letting people do this. And why they would, it's on the news. You do not watch Fox News.
No, I don't watch. I also don't watch CNN. I also don't watch most news.
Okay, well, I watch a lot of CNN and a lot of Fox. I will not watch MSNBC. But like you said, you did not know anything about this. And you will not see it on the mainstream media. NBC, ABC, CBS, none of them. But it's happening. And now de Blasio defunding the police by $1 billion. And they're taking away, they can't use tear gas and stuff to try to keep riots down. It's just unbelievable what they're doing against the police, and they can't defend themselves. They're just going overboard with all this. And it's only happening in Democrat cities.
So I just Google searched New York City police bucket of water, and the first result is NBC New York, viral videos of people throwing buckets of water. CBS News, video show water thrown on New York City police officers. Slate.com, NBC New York, Washington Post, New York Times, New York Post. It seems like, again, I hadn't heard of it until just now, but what you just said about mainstream media not covering it doesn't seem accurate. Seems like it is covered by lots of mainstream media, besides CNN and Fox.
There's a lot of stuff like that I have seen that nobody else has because they don't watch Fox.
All right, so so it is covered by mainstream media, this particular incident. My question was, though, how do you know that they're not allowed to do anything about it? Because from what you described, I haven't watched the videos yet, I don't know anything about it, but what you described, it sounds like an assault on an officer, which is illegal. That's a crime. And if it's on video, then something can be done about it, I would think. And if you're telling me they're not allowed to do anything about it, that would surprise me, even in a Democratic-run city. But what are you basing that on?
You can see it in the video. The police just keep on walking. They don't turn around and look at them. They don't say anything to them. Nothing.
So is that because those individual police officers chose not to do anything about it, or because they're not allowed to?
No, they're not allowed to.
So that's my question: is what are you basing that on? How do you know they're not allowed to?
it's been on the news that they're not allowed to do anything. They're it's just like when they burned down the third precinct police station in Portland. They were told, do not try to stop them. Let them vent. And it's happening all over the place. Well, all over Democratic cities.
So the headline here on NBCNewYork.com says 3 arrested after videos of NYPD cops doused with buckets. That's just the headline I'm seeing on Google. I haven't even dived into the article yet, but it seems like 3 were arrested.
Well, check it out with Fox and get the whole story, get both sides of it, and then determine if you want to believe.
I mean,
that may have come. Somebody may have. That could have been a totally different incident.
But NBC New York is like the local New York news, and I would most definitely trust the local news affiliate before I'll trust either CNN or Fox or MSNBC or any of these national places.
I wouldn't. I don't put anything. Well, I can't go into the whole thing. It's the mainstream media versus Fox, and I can't go into. I mean, it would take forever.
Yeah.
Google has control of every news station except Fox. Google that one, see what it says. Don't do it now, but
right.
Just check it out. And why is just this stuff happening only in Democratic cities? And why would it go on for 100 days of people shooting and burning and all this stuff for 100 days now?
So if the Democrats are running the media or getting that word out there, except for Fox News, and this stuff's only happening in Democratic-run cities, wouldn't you think that they would want to not talk about it? Because it kind of makes them look bad.
They're keeping it going, just anything, and then they talk about Trump's America. It's all his fault, the way he talks to people.
But by your rationale, which is you're not alone in this, it seems like Democrats don't know how to run cities, and the Republicans do.
They don't.
Well, so why wouldn't if the Democrats can also control the media, why aren't they portraying a different message?
I don't know. It makes no sense. But it's going to show.
It's probably because I don't think that's what's happening. It doesn't seem like that's what's happening. I don't think these things are happening in cities because they're Democrat-run cities. They're happening because people are pissed off. Whether they live in a Republican city or a Democratic city, it doesn't matter. They're pissed off.
Right.
Things are happening.
They're pissed off in every city. But only the Democratic cities will allow them to vent the way they are venting by killing and looting and setting fires, destroying cities and everything else. That is not happening in any Republican cities. They will not put up with it. They have law and order. The Democratic cities do not have law and order. They're letting them run the city. The mayor of Portland, Oregon, why these people would, I mean, he's a Democrat and he won't let Trump come in and put a stop to it, and neither will the governor. But they actually went to the mayor's apartment building that he lives in and set fire to it. He had to move out of his own apartment because they were going to burn it down.
You think it had anything to do with federal officers coming in unmarked vans, unmarked uniforms, and taking people off the streets? I mean, that's not a way to police a city, and that's what Trump's people were doing. And I think if I was a mayor of a city and that's what was happening, I would want those people out of there as well.
They came in to protect the courthouse, and they had uniforms on. They had patches on saying that that identified them. The only thing they didn't have was a patch with their name on it. And the reason they did that was that they did want retaliation from these people. They were not going to put their name out there. And that was the reason the only thing they didn't have on there was their name because of retaliation by these protesters. They weren't going to give them any name to go after them.
So you're saying there was no people out there that were unidentified, probable officers of the law, in some capacity with unmarked vehicles, unmarked uniforms. You're saying that didn't happen.
I don't know about the vehicles, but they all had uniforms on. They had like fatigues and stuff, and that's what one thing they were complaining about. The Democrats complaining that it looked like a war zone. Well, it is a war zone. They're trying to burn down the courthouse. They're locking policemen up in police stations and setting fire to it. It's a war zone. I don't care. He sent federal agents in to protect the courthouse, and that's what he did. Now, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, from what I heard, there were people going in. From what I heard, there were people going in completely without any kind of patch or anything like that, signaling who they were.
No, I don't think that's true. I really don't.
Well, once again, we might have to move on or agree to disagree or whatever, because I don't think either one of us have all the facts.
Well, it's a fact that he sent agents in there to put a stop to burning down the courthouse. And if it's true that he didn't have names, what difference does that make? Somebody is putting a stop to burning down a federal building. He's willing to bring the National Guard in to stop the entire thing, but he can't do it unless the governors allow him to do it. And they want nothing to do with it. The mayors and the governors, they're Democrat and will not let him in. They wanted to keep it going and then call it, this is all Trump's fault. They're the ones that are allowing it to go on. And I can't see why they let people act like that. And it's giving Black Lives Matter a bad name.
So
why they don't come out and stop this?
So if you want law and order, if that seems to be the highest priority, shouldn't that start with making sure the police are following the laws and keeping order? And it seems like a lot of this stuff started with the police.
Yes. Yeah.
So maybe using the police and other organizations like federal police and such maybe isn't the best way to solve it. And I can see why the Democratic mayors and governors might think that. Again, not that rioting is good, not at all, but I can certainly understand why they might be like, hey, if we try to solve this problem with more police, we're probably going to make the problem worse.
Peaceful demonstrations are allowed. When it gets to killing and burning, that is not peaceful demonstrations. And they're even in Portland, Oregon, they are peaceful demonstrations goes on all day long. It's not until at nighttime that these thugs who are being financed, when you saw them in Seattle, you would see pallets of bricks sitting in the middle of the street. Where did they come from? This whole thing, it's a big movement. People trying to destroy this country.
I don't think they're trying to destroy it. They're trying to fix it. Now, you may not agree with their methods, but that is what they're trying to do.
You don't fix it by going around killing people and burning buildings and all that. You don't do it that way. That's not how you solve any problems.
What do you think about the idea that to declare our independence from England, America had to do some very violent things that would not be considered lawful or orderly? Are you okay with that?
I'm not going back there. I'm going on with what's going on today.
But I'm just saying that America was founded on the principle of rebelling against your oppressors. That's why it's still relevant today. I mean, that's why we have a Second Amendment, right? It's so that we can make sure that the government, that if we need to rebel, we have weaponry to do it with.
Yeah, and even that is getting political. One party wants to take your guns away, another one doesn't. I mean, it's just everything is political right now, and it's just everything will be fine November 4th. Well, actually, it's not going to be, because you know what could happen. if they don't, the election isn't settled by January 20th. I mean, I think it could probably take that long before they decide who's actually won. I mean, it's going to be a big mess. But what happens if they don't have uh, a president by the January 20th? They haven't decided who won. What happens then?
I don't know.
The Speaker of the House becomes the president for the next 4 years. And if that's Nancy Pelosi, that's going to be our president for 4 years. I don't think I think she's going to get voted out, so that's not going to be her.
Yeah, you can't have her. She got a haircut.
Yeah. She didn't get a haircut. She demanded they open a salon up.
Mm-mm.
She thought it was a saloon.
She didn't demand.
In California, you cannot. The salons cannot be open. They're closed. They're shut down. And yet she can go in and get.
She called her personal hairdresser and said, "Hey, can you take care of me?" And she said yes.
Yeah.
And they went to the salon. One person, only Nancy, and the hairdresser is all she'd allowed in. The owner of the salon allowed it to happen so that she could video it and make sure that everybody knew that this happened.
Well, she videotaped it because they have cameras there, but nobody else is allowed. Nobody else is allowed to go and do that. Nobody. I mean, it's a shutdown on salons.
And yeah, I sure hope there's no Republicans getting their hair cut in California right now. Because the way that they've crucified Pelosi for something like this, one Republican gets a haircut, it's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, and it should be. If what's fair for one is fair for. How many businesses were shut down because the Democrats won't let them open up? I mean, she will not allow. How many people went out of business because of that rule? Yet she can do it. It's safe for her. She didn't wear a mask. Doesn't she care about the lives of her salon people? Evidently not, because it's so important that you wear that mask where you go. Evidently, she don't care if she has it, they might get it. It doesn't. It's not important because she's a little better than everybody else.
So we're going to cut thing one off, even though nothing feels resolved right now. And that's because nothing is resolved. We don't, neither one of us could get the other one to agree that the other one's right about anything. And that's fine. That's totally fine. And we're both smiling and happy about the fact that we can sit here and talk about it. And that's all I really wanted people to hear. Whether you agree with me or Dad, doesn't matter to me. I just wanted to have this conversation and put my awesome dad on display. Now, thing one is done. It is time.
It might not be a good thing.
Thing one is done. We're gonna go into a drum solo or a big song. I don't know. I'm gonna pick some music and play it right now.
Sharks in the water, searching for blood. The only thing will save us is good old-fashioned love. People who love should always love people. People who care put their souls on the line. People of faith, there's something to live for. The people who
thank you so much for sticking with us. We are done talking politics. I'm not going to let Dad go there, even no matter how hard he's going to try. Instead, we're going to move into thing number 2, which is usually something very music-y. And I'm going to let Dad go first. I've got a thought. I've got something I want to talk about. But I know Dad does as well, because we talked about music on the Father's Day post. Music is a big part of Dad's life and my life as a result of it being a part of Dad's life. And since I've known sound, music has been a part of it, and Dad's a big part of the reason why. So, music, what do you got?
Well, I'm hoping people have heard the Father's Day episode, and it was all about my type of music, 50s music, and all that stuff. But one thing I want to say, it doesn't go back to the politics, was the New York thing. When you and I went to do the New York, living on the streets for 3 days.
Yeah, we called it Home Free in NYC. Dad and I rode bikes around. We stayed in New York City for 3 days, 3 nights, without a hotel or any accommodations whatsoever. We slept on the ground in Central Park, in Riverside Park, on the East River Park, and loved it so much we did it twice. So, yes, that's what you're referring to. Let's talk about that, and how does that relate to music?
Okay, one thing it doesn't really relate to music, but one thing I meant to say earlier, that the neatest conversation was, you and I, if they watched the Father's Day, listened to the Father's Day podcast, that you and I, we were sitting down with Beth, your mother, my ex-wife, and talking about, and you told her, isn't it neat that Dad and I had the same idea to go to New York and live on the streets for 3 days? And she didn't quite agree with that, but I remember saying, well, the neatest part is not that we both had the same idea. The neatest thing was that we both thought it was a good idea. To me, that was the best part of it. And then the other thing I remember, you telling that you came back and told all your friends about what you did. And they said, well, who did you go with? And you said, my dad. And they said, yeah, right. And I think that's pretty neat. That's one thing I like about our relationship, that we were able to do something like that and thoroughly enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, the fact that we both thought of it, thought it was a good idea, and did it, and loved it so much, we did it again. Right? I mean, seriously. And if we could, I would do it tomorrow again with you. And we could talk about Trump all over New York City if we wanted to.
Well, let's make it in between. Let's do it in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to Chicago. Before I got to go there like 2 years ago, and before then, I didn't give two shits about Chicago. But now, having been there once, I went to Wrigley Field. I went out to the museums, I forget what you call it, but the pier that goes out into the lake. It was a pretty cool city, and we walked around a lot. We went running, and yeah, I could see doing it in Chicago. When do you want to go ride bikes around Chicago and sleep in the park?
It's definitely got to be in the summertime. We don't want to do it in the winter.
No. Is there enough summer left up in Chicago?
I don't think I can do it this year. My pastor wants me to do it with him in Minneapolis. We haven't done it yet because of the COVID thing.
Right.
And the COVID thing, I'll wait till next summer.
Yeah. I think
set a date and I'll meet you there.
I like it.
I'm not sure how I get my bike there yet, but
yeah,
maybe we could rent a bike.
I'm not.
Anyway, let's get on thing.
Music, go.
Yeah, well, actually, that was another thing we did in New York. That was one of our favorite things to do, was go around to the different clubs at night, pay a $5 cover charge, and at the time, both of us were drinking Cokes and listening to some great music. My favorite one was the, you know which one I'm talking about. What was the name of the group?
November Rain. The Guns N' Roses Experience. November Rain.
Guns N' Roses. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is such a good story.
I loved watching them sing. I did not care for Guns N' Roses music, and I'm that way with almost all music. There's a lot of it I don't like, but if I can see it being performed live, I love it. And they were exceptionally good. You said they were actually better than Guns N' Roses.
I did. They were. And that's such a weird, funny story. So, yeah, $5 for 5 bands at a Irish pub, 3rd floor in New York City, just like a block off of Times Square. It was so fun. And we weren't drinking. We were just hanging out, and we were like, we have no idea what these bands are going to be. And each band, they shared the drums, like they didn't replace the drums and the bass stack. The back line stayed, and the bands just replaced the people, obviously, and the guitars and maybe the cymbals and the snare, stuff like that. So it was like 10 minutes between bands, and each band was better than the one before. And during the 3rd band, we saw these guys walking around looking very different from all the other bands. Like leather pants on, cut-off shirts, tattoos, things like that. And I didn't notice I didn't figure it out. And then somebody, I talked to one of them, and they said, yeah, we're November Rain. Or maybe somebody said November Rain's coming up soon. And it still didn't dawn on me what these dudes were, right? And finally, they start playing, and I realize what's happening, and I should have figured it out much sooner because they all looked like Guns N' Roses people. Axl Rose, Slash, Duff, Izzy, Steven Adler. They looked like the original Guns N' Roses, and I'm a huge Guns N' Roses fan, at least of the first couple albums. And it's even when they said November Rain's coming up next, I still didn't put it together, even though that's a very famous Guns N' Roses song that's really good, November Rain. And then they started and played, and I couldn't believe it. This was the Guns N' Roses concert I wanted in 1992 at RFK Stadium when my friend Chris and I went there to see Guns N' Roses, and they disappointed big time. They just jammed. Axl Rose would leave the stage. Like, it was not a great concert experience. The November Rain, the Guns N' Roses tribute band in New York City, was a better Guns N' Roses band than Guns N' Roses were. And after they were done, down on the streets of the city, I was talking to them outside, and I told them, you guys were better than my Guns N' Roses actual concert experience.
Yeah, I don't remember the other 2 bands that played that night. I remember them. I guess they just overshadowed the other ones.
Yeah, they were all good.
And
Like, it was 5 solid bands, but November Rain took the cake for us.
yeah, and I not liking Guns N' Roses music. If I hear one of them songs that they played that night, I like it now because I can picture somebody singing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's with a lot of music with me. Once I see it live, then I like it.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
All right, so my music thing is a movie I just recently watched, and I'm curious if you've seen it yet. And if you haven't, I highly recommend it, but only if you can see it with a good sound system because you need the music to sound good. And the movie is Jersey Boys. Have you seen it yet?
Oh yeah.
You have?
No, I haven't seen it, but no, I haven't. But that was one of the plays I wanted to go to in New York and never made it. They ended it before.
Well, I
don't know why I didn't go see it.
I have good news. The movie stars people that were part of the Broadway show for years. So you will be seeing very much the same performances in the movie that you would have seen on Broadway. It was directed by Clint Eastwood, and it is excellent. It is also, by the way, produced by Frankie Valli and Barry Gordio, 2 original members of the Four Seasons. They still are together, kind of, and sort of produced this movie. So they had a lot of input on everything that happened in the movie. And the 2 scenes that I think of, the one when it makes me think of you is the song Sherry Baby. With that was one of the songs on your mixtape, and I love that song, and I had no idea the story behind it. I mean, I knew nothing about the band that made that song. All I knew was the song. I couldn't even have told you who it was by until I saw this movie. Just love the song, and now I know the whole story behind it, and I had no idea how many songs Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, or just Frankie Valli, are responsible for that are huge hits, that are part of the lexicon of just, if you're American, you know these songs. It's crazy. And the movie is the whole history, basically, of Frankie Valli from basically high school age all the way to modern day. And it is awesome. And so, but Dad, don't see it if you have to watch it on your TV speakers. See it somewhere where you can make it sound good.
Yeah, I got a good sound system on my TV now, and the 55-inch TV. I'll probably watch that every week.
Good.
And that song "Sherry" was my favorite one on that mixtape that we listened to up and going back and forth to the country, down the country, and I can just picture you and Aubrey and I would actually Sherry, Sherry baby. I just love that part. And I'm singing as long as you guys are singing it because you wouldn't hear me.
Yeah, I never knew you were actually singing over there in the driver's seat. That's so good. And the fact that you just sang on my podcast, you just did a solo on my podcast.
That is a first.
You knew.
No, it's not. Church is the first.
Yeah, but you knew you were being recorded just now, and you still sang solo.
Yeah.
This is a momentous. This is a momentous occasion. This is amazing.
Good thing it's recorded.
Yes.
Might never happen again. Did I sing it correctly?
You did.
Was it even close to what?
I think anybody that has ever heard that song, if all they heard was you say that, they would immediately know what song you were doing. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Well, that's good then.
But as
maybe I'll sing more often.
But there you go. But as Simon would say, I don't know, maybe a bit pitchy.
Yeah. He would definitely have a good comment.
Right. Oh, that's a great thing too. So music in New York, November Rain, Sherry Baby, and Jersey Boys. Go see the movie. It's available on one of the streaming services. I forget where I watched it the other night, but it was just a week ago. It was either on like Netflix or Amazon, or it was somewhere like that. I didn't have to rent it, but it's I don't know where to find it, but I'll figure it out and let you know. But highly recommend Jersey Boys.
Yeah, I'm definitely.
Did you have something in mind for thing number 3, which is just, it's kind of a goofy, stupid thing? Have you had anything in mind already? Did you prepare?
No, actually, what I did, I wrote down some things, but it all referred back to the Father's Day show that you did.
Yeah.
Some things about that I especially enjoyed the farting and the belching part.
Yeah, you live on your own. You can fart and belch all you want. Do you ever stink yourself out of your apartment?
No, the stinkier they get, the prouder I am. If I get a really stinky one, I can't wait till I let another one see if it's even stinkier. That's weird. I don't know why. I enjoy that.
Are you like me where you can kind of tell as you're farting whether or not it's going to stink or not? Like you can tell the ones that come from a deep, stinky place versus the ones that are just kind of like that was fun sounding, but it doesn't really stink.
Yeah. No, it's normally the ones that kind of sneak out that smell.
Yeah.
There's nothing there but the smell. It's just, there's no sound, no nothing. Just all of a sudden, something stinks. I'll put my head under the covers just to get a good whiff of it. I should shut up here.
Allison,
who is this dude?
My daughter Allison was over the other night, and we were watching Hamilton. And earlier, I fed the dogs their food, their dinner. Bowl of food, dry food, and a spoonful of wet food. And we had just cooked some stuff on the stove, and we had some leftover bacon grease. So I poured some bacon grease over both of their bowls of food and gave it to them. They devoured it. They loved it. And then they started farting. Like that's not normal. I don't do that for the dogs like ever. So this was a treat for them, torture for us, because they sat right there in the living room with us watching Hamilton. And oh my God, those farts would make you have to leave the room. It was bad. And it went on for like an hour that they were just getting rid of the bacon grease by farting. It was horrible.
Yeah, I've never smelled anybody else's fart that I like, just mine. There's something special about mine.
Yeah.
Everybody else's smell is disgusting.
No. I mean, just think that smell was inside of you. Why would you hate it once it's outside of you?
Yeah. Good to have it out.
Cool. So did you have anything else before we wrap this up? Because I know you got to go.
Well, there was one other thing about on the Father's Day thing. You talked about the surprise birthday party that they held for me.
Yeah, with the underwear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beth asked me that year, what do you want for your birthday? And I said, the only thing I need is underwear. I want them from J.C. Penney and a certain size and everything. That's all I need. And so she throws this big wild party that everybody, but what was the funniest part of it was that everybody gave me underwear except one. Maury gave me something else. And well, actually, he did give me some underwear, but the underwear was in a briefcase. He said, I see you have a case of briefs here. Now you need a briefcase. So he gave me 3 pair of underwear in a briefcase. And Madge gave me a pair with red, Madge made a pair with red lace sewed around the legs of the underwear.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there was a particular brand of briefs, right? Just plain white. What was it? Like Fruit of the Loom briefs? And that,
I think it was J.C. Penney.
All right, so whatever it was, that was what everybody got, right? They were told these are the ones.
Yeah.
And Maggie took.
That's the only kind I like.
Yep, Maggie, my grandmother took a pair and sewed red lace all around. So they were the right briefs with a little extra flair.
Yeah, I never did wear them.
Gosh, Uncle Maury had such a sense of humor, and for him to think all the way through, and for nobody else to have thought of that, shows you how unique and of a mind that guy had. That he showed up with a briefcase so that you had something to encase your briefs in.
Yeah, you got place to put my case of briefs.
That's pretty awesome.
That one more thing about the Father.
Okay.
Was you and Aubrey talking about going out to eat when I wasn't around?
Oh, you mean when we were like, hey, this is what it would be like if Dad was dead? That?
Yeah. I was so glad you did that extra. You weren't sure if to put it on or not, but that was my favorite part of the thing was I spent a week or two in Iowa by myself, and you guys were home without me, and both of you commenting that this is what it would be like if Dad was dead. And I remember Beth telling me about that you were out eating one night, and Aubrey, I don't know if it was you or Aubrey that said it.
I think it was me.
I just busted out laughing. I thought that was so neat.
As you know, in a weird way, it's kind of a compliment because the message there was that you probably thought it was a waste of money to go out to eat all the time, and there was nothing better than having a real meal at home with family, which was cheaper and arguably more, familial, better overall experience, and that's what you wanted. And so the only way we weren't going to do that is if you weren't around.
That was my favorite part of the day. I come home from work. I don't want to go play at a playground with you guys at one of the best softball games or something. I want to sit down as a family. That was the best part of my day. It was about the only time I got to spend with you during the week was at mealtime. Yeah. And if we didn't have that, it was just, go watch somebody play softball or something and then come home and go to bed. And I just didn't get to spend any really good time with you if we didn't have that meal together. That's why it was so important. And
yeah.
Why I missed it and wanted to try to make a big deal out of it. I really enjoyed it and didn't get enough of it.
Well, I'm glad you took it the way it was intended because it was certainly meant with love. So
that's the only difference is you wouldn't be able to go out to eat as much if Dad was dead.
Right.
That would be the biggest difference.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Dad. I know you got to get going, but this has been episode 26 of Three Things, the podcast, featuring Eldon M. Stoffel, my dad, also known as Poppy by his grandkids, which I think is the best name for a grandpa. I finally got my grandpa name. I mentioned that in a earlier episode. I'm Gampa.
Sorry if I offended anybody. Just my point of view on this.
Are you really sorry? I mean, people are going to be offended.
No.
You knew people would be offended when you said it. And if you're sorry, that means maybe you just wish you hadn't said it. No, I don't think you're sorry that people were offended, and I don't think you should be. I mean, you have your point of view. It's based on whatever it's based on. Who knows if it's right or wrong? Who knows if I'm right or wrong? The point of this was that the entire point of this was that we can talk about this stuff without hating each other afterwards. Really, that's kind of it.
If you're offended, get over it.
There you go. All right, for real this time. This is Poppy and Gampaw. Three Things with JR. Over and out.
Love you.
Love you too.
I don't know what this is going to sound. I'm almost afraid to listen to it.
All the saints in hell. 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 Searching for the shred of glory from a place that we knew so well, pushing hate